For me, this is where my love for wrestling games started. A true defining point in wrestling game history. WCW vs. nWo World Tour was released in 1997 on Nintendo 64. At this time in wrestling, the WWF and WCW were battling it out every Monday night, and WCW was atop the ladder of success, so of course they needed a great game to back up their great product. Developed by AKI and published by THQ, this game boasts one of the most loved grappling systems in gaming history, but we'll get into that a little bit later. The game starts off with a short intro. It's nothing special, but you get stuff like Sting coming down from the rafters and a few wrestlers performing their badly animated finishing moves. We'll get into that a little later too. The game features quite a few wrestlers for the time. Granted, most of them are not WCW wrestlers, but instead wrestlers from Japanese promotions. You see, this game was released in Japan under the name Virtual Pro Wrestling 64, but when it made its way stateside, they were forced to change the names of those wrestlers. But if you were a fan of those Japanese promotions, you might recognize some of these faces. Another great feature in this game is how every wrestler has 4 attires to choose from. So Hogan, for example, has his Hollywood gear as default, but if you want to put him in the red and yellow, you can. Unlike WCW vs. the World, they decided to actually include some real big names of the company in the game. You got Luger, Sting, Giant, Steiner Brothers, Flair, Ultimo Dragon, Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Mysterio, Benoit, and Regal. And for those of us that came to see the nWo, you got Hogan, nWo Sting, Bagwell, Bischoff, Norton, Nash, Hall, and Syxx. Now the game doesn't feature entrances. Instead, it shows the wrestler performing a quick taunt in their corner before the match starts. Not a huge disappointment though, as most wrestling games had yet to feature full-blown entrances. AKI created a simple but fantastic grappling system used in this game. It features a grapple button and a strike button. Moves are started with holds initiated by the grapple button. Tap A for a weak grapple, hold A for a strong grapple. Weak grapples had quicker, less damaging moves, and strong had more powerful moves. Same goes with the striking moves. Tap the strike button for a quick kick, jab, slap, or chop, or hold the button for a more powerful attack. Players also come equipped with a spirit gauge that fills up the better you do and the more you taunt. Once it's filled up to the max, you activate special mode where you can perform your wrestler's finishing move. Only problem I have here are the finishing moves themselves. Most of them look pretty bad. They either weren't animated well or they were just wrong altogether. Take Scott Hall for instance. This looks like it's gonna be an outsider's edge. Everything looks good, then all of a sudden, it's not. I'm still confused to this day why they thought that was alright, but it never slowed me down from playing, not to mention they made up for it tenfold in WCW Revenge. The wrestler models are anything but impressive, even for 1997. Who are we kidding here? They got floaty arms, blocky body parts, blurry faces. Most of the people don't even look like the real thing other than their attire. Warzone looked a lot better at the time. Some of the character models were just way off. I always thought Flair and Ultimo Dragon looked a bit on the chubby side in this game. Another problem was the wrestlers all being the same height, so somebody like Syxx standing next to Nash just looks funny. But again, it doesn't really take away from the game at all. The arena selection is a bit on the limited side. There's a generic ring with a horrible excuse for a crowd for each promotion in the game, and that's it. Also lacking is any kind of story mode or even titles for that matter. For some reason there are no championship belts in the game, but I can't stress enough that World Tour was still one of the first 3D wrestling games and a lot of this stuff wasn't commonplace yet. The musical selection fits 90s wrestling for sure. There's no Nitro theme, no wrestlers themes, nothing from actual WCW programming, but there is a lot of generic, dated sounding butt rock, and they even included some cowbell. There isn't much as far as sound effects go, a few grunts here and there, and this. Wow. The crowd sounds decent, and the ref doesn't bug the hell out of me like some wrestling titles from this era. This game was always a great game to play in single mode. There was always plenty of entertainment to be had. But multiplayer is where this game shined for me as a kid. The Nintendo 64 had 4 controller ports, and this was the perfect game to take advantage of that. Now, whether it be 4-way match or a tag match, this game was kick-ass with a few friends. It almost brought me back to the fun we had with Street Fighter just a few years prior to this game. We used to stay up for hours on end playing this game, and the best part is, most of my friends didn't even like wrestling. That proves how good this game was. I mean, the same kids that were knocking wrestling for being fake and saying it was just a bunch of guys rolling around together in tights, they couldn't put the game down, and I think that's kind of why this game had so much success. Anybody could pick up and start having fun with it, wrestling fan or not. I could go on and on about WCW versus nWo World Tour, but really it's just a simplistic great grappler. And while most of you have played it, some of the newer fans might have not had the pleasure yet. But remember when you're playing WW13 and you're marveling at its gameplay, remember what game started it all.